After 1 year of starting Truecaller, we got an offer to be acquired for $10 million. And it was just me and Nami. We were like, okay, we get $5 million each. We were 25 years old. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And we said, no, we don't want to sell the company. And they thought we were insane. My friends said I was, a crazy person for saying no to $5 million. But, we were so passionate about what we did that, we were thinking, like, if we sell this, what are we going to do then? Like, go back to somewhere else and do something we're not passionate about? And I think entrepreneurs sell their companies too early.
Alan, I'm going to jump into this question, which I'm sure every entrepreneur, everyone listening would love to know from you. Yeah. What does it mean to build a, if I may use the word, ubiquitous brand? Right? Today, Truecaller in India, everyone knows Truecaller, everyone uses Truecaller. What has it meant to build a brand like Truecaller for you?
Well, I don't think it was our, intention. Like, that wasn't why we built the product. We built the product because we wanted to solve a problem and need that we had ourselves. But realizing a couple of years later down the road that it's a household name, everyone knows it. People who join our company, they join it because their parents recognize the brand, they use the product. But I think what it does to the company is that everyone who's working with the product, it makes us understand the big responsibility we have. Like, we have an even bigger reputation to take care of. So I guess that's, and I think it's important also to build a brand so that people not only trust the product but the whole company behind it.
Yeah.
And I think the team has done a fantastic job building that brand. Obviously, the community of users have built this up, and we've been very fortunate to just, help a bit in the journey. But most of it has been done by the community, honestly.
I have to also ask you this. You're a unicorn. You had a very successful IPO and tech startup, profitable, all the right metrics, all the right checklist, and of course the love of consumers first and foremost. I want to understand the journey, and then your journey in particular. Tell us what it has meant for you to build this company and get it here.
I think what I'm most proud of is the fact that we have created opportunities for people within the company to be a part of this journey, not just, writing some code or being, a part of some press release, but also getting a financial upside. Everyone, 15% of the company was owned by employees. And now we created a new stock program when we went public to add another 5% to employees. So giving away has been, I think, important, and it's a part of the whole ecosystem that I think we should create, making it possible for our employees to maybe start a new company in the future. And actually there are a few who have started companies both in India and in Sweden and use some of that capital to get started, and I'm very positive to that.
Yeah, that's creating a network effect, and brings me to the question today for all the young people in the country who would be listening to you. We discuss and we talk about entrepreneur entrepreneur's mindset and having that attitude. Tell me about your journey personally as someone who started. You are an immigrant and you started this. I don't know. It feels like an Indian brand, but it is headquartered in.
I mean, we're more Indian than Swedish. That's
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. So tell us, how have you made your journey as an entrepreneur while building this company?
Yeah. Look, both me and my co-founder Nami, we were engineers, we were developers, coders. So we knew nothing about leadership, managing people. Like, we were 24 years old when we started to write the code and, built the company. We just wanted to do something we were excited about, have an environment where we go to the office and it doesn't feel like you go to, a corporate. You go to a place where you exercise your hobby, basically. And we worked really hard to retain that culture as well. And I think Nami and I have a couple of things in common. Like, we share many values. For example, when we started back in early 2000 at the university, we discussed, what do we want to achieve in life? And we both, said that we want to reach a financial point in our life where we can help our mothers and our siblings, so they don't have to, struggle in life like, our parents did when they came to a new country. So for us, it was never about becoming rich or, doing something, becoming rich ourselves, but rather help our family. After 1 year of starting Truecaller, we got an offer to be acquired for $10 million. And it was just me and Nami. We were like, okay, we get $5 million each. We were 25 years old. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And we said, no, we don't want to sell the company. And they thought we were insane. My friends said I was, a crazy person for saying no to $5 million. But, we were so passionate about what we did that, we were thinking, like, if we sell this, what are we going to do then? Like, go back to somewhere else and do something we're not passionate about? And I think entrepreneurs sell their companies too early. We even went to the bank because we had one shareholder who was creating a lot of trouble. And eventually, we asked him, hey, can we buy your shares? And he gave us an option to buy his shares for, this was a couple of $1 million. And the company was worth nothing. It was just an app that very few people use. But we said, okay, we will get that option to buy your shares. Then later on, we went to the bank. We borrowed a lot of money from the bank.
On your personal?
Yeah. I barely had any salary from the company. So we had a huge debt on ourselves, me and Nami. But we felt so strongly for this product that we borrowed money from the bank. End of 2013, Sequoia India came on board. We managed to sell some shares to Sequoia to just pay off that debt to the bank that we had had for many years. So, we took a lot of risks, even though there was a lot of uncertainty. But, in hindsight, of course, it was the right thing to do. But at that point of time, we could have...
but Alan, I have to ask you this. Many wouldn't have done that, right?
Yeah.
Because even if one is a risk taker, this requires a lot of courage and a lot of maybe audacity to do this. Tell me, and of course conviction, but tell me what prompted, what was going in your mind and both of you that you could do that? Like, how did you, if you have to look back and say that you did it, how? Because I have, interacted with thousands of entrepreneurs, and I wouldn't say someone would take at such an early stage, this kind of risk.
We started the company in 2009. We had just bought our first apartments, me and, not together, but Nami just bought one and I bought one with my wife. And this was, in the financial crisis, interest rates were quite high. So we were already, in big trouble because of the financial crisis. So we were like, what's the worst thing? The worst thing has already happened. So I honestly think we didn't think. We just went with the flow. If you start to doing risk analysis, okay, what happens if this happens, and so forth, then you only see the negative sides of it. So I don't think we were smart enough to figure out, what would be the possible outcome. We just did it. But of course, in hindsight, like if someone would come to me, like an entrepreneur, and say, hey, we're in this situation, do you think I should go and take the loan? I'm not sure if I would say yes. It has to come from the person themselves.
Yeah.
Because it is a big risk that you take, and the outcome is unknown. But at the same time, we were thinking like, look, we have a computer science degree. There are jobs everywhere. If this fails, we'll just go and work at McDonald's or some tech company. Like so we were too optimistic.
Or I would say what I'm also hearing is a little bit of stoicism, right? Like, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
The journey to getting the company and in such a good stage to IPO, because of course today we are seeing a lot of IPOs, and as you sit in India, we have a very mixed review when it comes to IPOs. You had a spectacular IPO. Tell me the building blocks that got you from those days to here.
Yeah, no, I've been following the IPOs in India. I think it's a great first wave that tech companies go public, because it inspires the next generation that, hey, an exit doesn't. So I spoke with the CEO and founder of Spotify many years ago, and he told me that in Europe or outside of the US, we tend to believe that the only way to build a successful company is when you sell it to Google or Facebook. And and that conversation really, really inspired me, because he was like, look, you can build a company that can stand on its own legs. Like, why would you sell your company? Because Spotify could have sold it to Google or Amazon a long time ago, but they had this vision that why not? Like, just because we're not in Silicon Valley, it doesn't mean we can build that company. So that inspired me and Nami when we were sitting in that conversation. And in 2015, there was, sort of a tech bubble happening. Just a similar shift that we're seeing now, where you go from focus on growth to profitability. That happened in 2015 as well. And we had a hard time raising money. We couldn't no one could raise money in 2015, end of it. And the end result was that we had to let go of 25% of our staff. And that was the hardest part in this whole journey, honestly, to tell people, look them in the eyes and say, hey, I'm sorry, you will have to leave. Fortunately, we managed to connect all those affected people with other companies, and they would have a job the week after. But it was still a very hard process to go through, and it took 2 years to repair, the culture again. So we decided, end of 2015, when we did this, we said, going forward, we should strive to be profitable, to be able to stand on our own legs, and never, be dependent on investors and say, please give us money, otherwise, we can't pay our employees their salaries. So that was the starting point of, starting to monetize. But we also thought that we wanted to, a lot of people trust our brand and our product. And one other way to look at the company and trust them even more is if they can pay their own bills, right? We didn't want to end up like some other companies where, you love the brand, you love the product, you give them, your data to them, and then all of a sudden they sell it to, a big corp. And that's not what you signed up for. So we thought, this is another element of trust that you build, that being transparent, these are the ways we monetize. And, we're profitable, so don't worry. We will stand on our own legs. And then 2019, we became profitable for the first time. So it took time. I mean, it takes 3 years to get there, if not more. And then, COVID happened.
Yeah.
A lot of companies had to lay off people. And we were like, this is exactly why we should always be a profitable company, because we were making profits. We told the employees that, look, we're not going to fire anyone. We know other companies are doing that. In fact, we're going to hire another 100 people this year. Everyone is going to get the annual salary increase, like as if nothing has happened.
Wow.
So that was a really strong signal to the organization. And I think when we went public, having the combination of high growth and profitability is a really good match. And I can tell you, when we went public in October last year, that was being profitable was a nice thing. Like, it was an add-on. It wasn't like necessary. But now, starting January, that became a necessity. So, and we've seen these repeating patterns over the years. I mean, we started the company during the financial crisis.
Yeah. What I'm picking, Alan, is that in 2015 there was a very conscious decision that we will build a very large tech business, but we'll also build with, we'll always have cash of our own. We will look at profit. And today it takes time. It has taken 5 years. But today you build a successful outcome for everyone, right? And I think it's very important, because sometimes when you're getting excessive capital, then you miss this picture.
Yeah, I mean, when you take in venture capital, there is an expectation that you're going to grow the company with that capital. And, once you've used that capital, you raise more to grow even further.
Yeah.
So no one is, because what you're selling is a dream that one day you're going to be very profitable. You're going to print billions every day, just like Google and Facebook. But the moment you start working on that, everyone will see that that's not reality, because it doesn't happen overnight. And that's when your valuation drops, right?
Yeah.
And we were willing to take that hit. So at some point in the beginning, we made like $100,000 per month. Our organization were laughing at us. They were like, guys, aren't we going to build a profitable business? We were like, bear with us. It's going to take time, but at some point, this will happen. And I think that's what the whole venture capital industry is afraid of. That companies become profitable, or that companies start showing revenues, and it's not turning out to be what the market might expect.
Yeah. You mentioned the Spotify founder. You had a conversation with him. I was listening to one of his conversations, and he's an immigrant entrepreneur. His thing was that that as you grow the company, personally also, there are things that you have to work on your own self to grow. And one of the things was about letting go as senior leaders come, and creating that kind of a culture where you don't say, okay, Silicon Valley is the way of running a business, but it's a way that you evolve. I want to understand from you, what are some of the things that you and your co-founder did in this journey to say that, okay, this is going to be Truecaller culture, and this is going to be some of the things that we will do as leaders, as entrepreneurs, as we grow, because you started also very young.
Yeah. I mean, I think in 2013, so Nami and I, we built the backend infrastructure. We were coding every day till mid 2013, and our CTO, who was our first employee, he was with us for almost 10 years. He was like, guys, I'm a backend engineer. You guys are not. So please, can I take over? And we were like, no. We will continue to work on this. And it took us a couple of years to let it go, and it was hard. In hindsight, we should have done it, a few years earlier probably. But it was still okay, because in end of 2013, we said, okay, Umut, you take over. And, he started to build an excellent team that could build an infrastructure that would scale in a real way, not like we did it. So it took us 1.5 years to rewrite the whole infrastructure. And that was the best thing that happened to the company, because we haven't had downtimes more or less since then, since we re-architectured everything. But it was a tough decision to sort of let go of your baby and let other engineers work on it. And a similar thing happens, when you start building a management team. As founders, you do everything, right? You sit in support, you talk to investors. I mean, I was the CFO for many years as well, indirectly. So I was doing a lot of these kind of stuff. But it's just the role of a founder, that you do whatever is necessary. But at some point, I mean, when I started to hire some really, really good people to the management team, then I realized that, I'm actually learning from these people. And I don't need to do these stuff anymore, because I really don't have a passion for like CFO related things or HR related things. So it's better to let someone else do it. But just getting to that point when you get inspired and learn from other people, that's super cool. And it's also an addiction, actually.
India is the largest market for Truecaller. Tell me what it has meant to build in the Indian market. We are here in Bangalore, you are here today in Bangalore. What has it meant to build in India? And for India, now I can say that for, because you have such a large base here.
No, I mean, I think what was really inspiring with, in the early days was that every new user we got from India, we could call them and say, hey, how is the service working for you? They would give us honest feedback. The fact that they take their time to just, write a long email to give us input on how we can improve the service was mind-blowing. And we got addicted to working with our users and make it better. While in many parts of the Western world, people are too busy. They don't care. It's like, okay, this app is shit, uninstall. Like they don't take their precious time to send a long email. I still engage with people on Twitter. They write to me direct messages because it's open. I want people to write to me and they give me feedback, and I engage with them. So there's a different level of engagement with your customers in India, and people are in general more excited and want to learn things because they might get connected to the world for the first time. So just being a part of that journey is super inspiring. And also, there are other personal aspects to this as well, which is, in Sweden, when you are an immigrant, you're not blonde, you don't have blonde hair, you're always somewhere in between. Like you don't really fit in, but you're accepted sometimes. While in India, when we discovered India, we discovered the language. People think I'm from the northern part of India, and it's.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah. So there's an Indian language where Mamedi means mango, and it's my favorite fruit as well. So that's something. But the Hindi language is very similar to the Kurdish language as well. So I saw a lot of cultural resemblances with the house that I grew up in. So that made me even more excited,
If I can ask you, if you could share with us, what's your plan? Because Indian market is growing and we still, when it comes to mobile usages, we are still at 40%. How are you looking at growing in this market? What are some of your plans, if you can share with us?
Well, I think some of the most important parts of Truecaller are being built in Bangalore. The idea is, so now our India operations organization is actually, I think it's 50 or 60% bigger than the Swedish operations. And it's, it's not, more people because we've put certain functions here. I mean, most of them are actually engineers and product people. So it's definitely not, for because of cost. In fact, our engineers in India cost more than our engineers in Stockholm. That's a reality today. So the plan is to continue to grow our organization, our footprint here, work more with the consumers, build out the product basically. We've done 2 acquisitions in India during the past 3 years. We're always looking for great talent or great companies with cool products that could be integrated into Truecaller. So that might happen in the future as well. So yeah, we'll see what happens, but we do have big plans, so we'll see.
Now you are piquing our curiosity on what the plans are, but I just want to ask that, are you going to diversify from the Truecaller ecosystem into adjacencies?
I think for the coming 3-4 years, we'll have to stay focused on the Truecaller product, the whole communication space, and from a monetization point of view, advertisement, subscription, and Truecaller for Business. Those are 3 revenue streams that will keep us busy for many years. Now there's a lot of innovation that can be done on all these products, especially on Truecaller for Business, which it's a product that is a year old that the team out here built, and it's had a fantastic traction. So we're just in the beginning of that phase. I think if you would take out Truecaller for Business as a separate company, I think the team has built like a unicorn in a year, basically.
Yeah, you know, I have as a customer, I would say that I get so many calls from these food delivery apps
Yep.
and the credit card companies. So I hope if everyone is listening, then maybe, you know, if you have Truecaller, then at least one gets the name, right? Like, because still that is a problem here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're working with all of these to get them KYC'd, integrate into the product. One of the things that is coming, which I think will be super valuable, is, you know, when, let's say, the food delivery guy calls you to deliver the food, then after the call you will get a rate button to rate, you know, how was the food experience, and that rating actually goes directly to the food company, to the delivery company, so that they can improve.
Yeah.
Because how else are they going to get that feedback unless you call them, you know, sitting on the, you know, waiting line for like 20 minutes? Like, no one is going to do that. So being able to give that feedback instantly, I think, could be extremely valuable.
Oh, that would be very valuable. Yeah. Yes, yes. Alan, I want to ask you, what's your plan for the iOS Apple users, if I may ask?
Yeah. So, you know, we've never prioritized our iOS products because 95.5% of our users are on Android, for good and bad reasons. But what we're doing now is that we regrouped, we created a new business unit internally called the iOS team. Before, all the iOS developers used to be, you know, in business units like calling or messaging, etc. So, you know, they worked on certain parts of the product. But then we said, okay, we need to rewrite the whole product from scratch. So let's put everyone in one team with, you know, iOS designers, iOS people, like, you know, they wake up and look at all their Apple toys, basically. Like, we need that culture in that team. So they started the rewrite late last year. We're progressing. So this year we'll have a brand new product with the Call Hero integration. So we acquired a company called Call Hero, which has a really cool digital assistant. So with that integration, I think we can deliver a product that is almost on par with the Android product. So there's a big initiative going on.
Now that you're a publicly listed company, is there any change in the way you operate, in the way the company functions, or it remains the same?
I would say it's mostly the same. The only difference is that, I mean, we've always been a very, very transparent company. You know, you asked about culture. All our numbers are accessible for everyone. Even if you sit in the reception, you can still go in and see how much revenues, or you used to be able to see how much revenues were we making, how much are we growing every day. So the only difference we had to do was limiting who can see the revenues, basically. I think that's more or less the only thing that we had to do. Because otherwise we have to register every employee as an insider, so they cannot trade, and many of our employees likes to buy the stock themselves. But the only rule is 30 days before the report, no one is allowed to buy. That's it.
You know, where do you see yourself now? You know, from the guy who wanted to make the family secure, from the boy who wanted to make the family secure, to where you are today, successfully listed company, again a phenomenal brand company, a purposeful brand, if I may say so. Where do you see yourself?
Look, we've been doing this for 13 years, and you know, your motivation level goes up and down, of course, during this. What you learn when you raise money for the first time from a VC, and you know this, I mean, I spoke to one of your colleagues yesterday, but what you learn is that when you raise money, you haven't made it, which we thought. We were like, yes, we made it, we're done, you know, thank you, whatever. But then, you know, the day after we realized that, okay, now we actually have to show results, you know. So in some way you always have to, and Nami and I, we used to joke about it and say 4 more years, like, you know, the presidential election and so forth. Because as soon as you take in more money, you have to do at least 4 more years. But we never had a time horizon. It was just a fun thing we used to joke about. But I think the IPO in itself it gave me a lot of energy because I started to learn something new again. And it's a different environment in that sense. You interact with new investors. The good thing is because we're profitable, you know, we can be very confident. Like it gives you a chip on the shoulder that you don't have to be careful with what you say, because then you might hurt them, and then you don't get the money you need to survive. So where will I be in 4 years? Look, I'm still super excited. I hope I can do this for many, many years. Time will tell, but for sure, going through this IPO process really gave me a lot of energy. If you would have asked me like 2 years ago, I would have said, I don't know, we'll have to see. But and it comes and goes. But I've also realized that when you add more people around yourself that you really enjoy working with, that you can learn from, like to the management team, then that gives you a lot of energy too.
Yeah.
But you need to find a balance. Like you need to find something that clears your head. If you only sit and work 24/7, it's not gonna be fun anymore.
We hear in Europe people have a very good work-life balance. Is it true?
Yeah, I think it's a bit borderline, honestly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tech companies. Their pitch is, come and join us, and you can enjoy life. And it's like, hello, if you want to start a company, you have to say goodbye to your family. Like that's how it works. You have to risk something.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's good. To have a borderline work-life balance, like some of the startups have. Of course, I tell people if you prioritize, when you come to Truecaller, you should expect an environment where people actually enjoy what they do. If you want to work, 6 hours per day, and then, after 5 p.m. you turn off your phone and no one can reach you, then Truecaller is not the right place.
Yeah.
And be upfront with that. Then, you can go to IKEA, Ericsson, whatever, So we want to keep that level of engagement in the company. So what I meant was, I found a couple of passions, but my big passion that I found like many years back was gardening stuff. Like, on weekends I go out, like, I open the door at 9 in the morning, and then I go in again at, 6 p.m. or something, and I'm outside, I'm working with my vegetables or my plants or something.
Wow.
And it's, it clears, it's some sort of a meditation.
Yeah.
But it gives me results, because I see the bushes coming up, or the flowers, or, the different vegetables that I have. So, these things, and everyone needs to find their own things that gives them peace of mind. But I think that is important.
Wow.
Not just doing the same thing all the time. For a couple of years, I used to do another thing, which was washing my car.
Washing your car?
Yeah. So every night, more or less, after work, I would go home at, say, 11 or 12 in the night. I would go to one of these outdoors washing centers, and I would just stand there for 1 hour and wash my car. And it was super, then I went home, I forgot everything about work. It was super relaxing. So I can definitely recommend that too, if you don't have a garden.
How does your family feel about the journey?
They're super proud, of course, both, my mom and my siblings, and my wife, and, her parents as well. It becomes a bit overwhelming, sometimes. Like, please stop.
Are you the superstar in the house?
No, not really.
The pampered one?
Like, now when I'm here, we've been doing a bunch of stuff, my family they're of course following it online, and they send messages, you were so great on stage. I was like, please, Mom, stop it,
But for your mother, it must be very, very proud, right? She was an immigrant. She came.
She came to Sweden when she was 18, so she was young.
Wow.
Yeah. 2 kids, 1 kid.
And without anything, without any backing or anything?
Nothing.
Wow.
Like, some clothes, no money, nothing.
Wow.
No, so she's super proud. And, being the oldest son in the family means you have to take care of everyone. At least in my culture, which is not a typical Swedish culture.
It's Indian culture also.
Exactly. So, I have to take care of them and make sure they have it settled. And now we're thinking about what happens, in 10, 20 years when my mom and my wife's parents becomes old. We don't want to put them in a retirement home or anything like that. So, thinking about these plans as well. So a lot to think about on that side. But they're very proud, good supporters.
Wow. Yeah. What's most fulfilling for you, Alan? What has, it's 13 years journey, right? 13. What has been, if I had to ask you, what has been most fulfilling part of the journey till now?
I think what I'm mostly proud of is the fact that we were always very generous with our employees, always gave them stocks. Because today, we're a highly valued company and all, but I don't need to feel ashamed about it, which you can do sometimes. But I don't need to feel that, because I know everyone in the company, they can buy a nice house or a nice car, whatever they want to do in their. If they want to take 1 year off and travel the whole world, they can do that. They have that money, and I can tell you that wasn't easy, because when you have shareholders, every time you create a new warrants
ESOP.
program, then they will get diluted, right?
Yeah.
So we had to take a lot of fights for that. I mean, how many companies have you seen where 20% of the company is owned by employees?
Yeah. This is
And
significant.
I'm not including myself or my co-founder, So the employees actually, they
You all get diluted. You would have got diluted.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So they actually own more than me and Nami together. And that's something that I feel proud about today. Because I've seen other companies, not necessarily India. I was speaking to, this is a Swedish tech company that recently got acquired, but their employees didn't have much stocks. There was another company that got acquired 3 years back, and the only people in that company who had shares was the management team. And they were a team of like 500 people. I wouldn't be able to look people in the eyes. I would take my money and give it to them. Because it's not because of me that we're successful, it's because of everyone who's been a part of this journey, even those who have left the company.
Wow.
So I think that feels good. I mean,
wow, you won our hearts with this answer, and I'm sure everyone, I hope this becomes a framework for most companies, for most young companies, and it requires courage to do that. Yeah.
I guess
you can't pretend doing that, right? It has to come from a very authentic space within you to have a very inclusive growth. Yeah.
I guess we don't come from, we never grew up from a capitalistic sort of culture. And I think if you are greedy, if you're motivated by money and greed and fame and all that, I think you will fail from day one, basically, honestly.
Short-term success.
Yeah, it's extremely short-term.
Yeah. But what does money mean to you, personally? What has money meant to you?
So I will tell you, money for me has meant that I can work more. That my wife can, if she wants to buy new shoes for my kids, then, she doesn't need to think twice, can we afford this? Or, can we afford paying the rent next month? It gives me a peace of mind so I can work. Honestly, that's the only thing it means. Then, of course, it makes life in general easier. But that peace of mind is fantastic. Because the thing is, you meet people, they go like, oh, if I had $1 million, I would travel the world and, all these things. But what they don't realize is that the moment you reach $1 million, that's a moment when you worked a lot and you're still working a lot. So you don't actually have time to make that travel. I wish I could take a plane to Maldives and just relax, but I don't have that time. And I've never been to Maldives, and a lot of our folks here.
But looking at you, I feel you wouldn't like to, as in you'll enjoy working.
I enjoy working. Yeah, what else would I do? Sitting on a beach, sure. To be honest, those times we've been on vacations, so we try to take at least once a year go on vacation with family. And honestly, I don't go on vacation because I need it. I do it just to do it with my family.
Yeah.
Because I know they want to go. I traveled so much, not so much after COVID, but before that I traveled so much. So, sitting on a plane again, it's not exciting.
Yeah.
But for them, it's like, hooray, we're going to a beach somewhere.
And with everyone together.
Yeah.
Okay, Alan, this has been, honestly, I have to say this, very inspiring. And and very meaningful conversation. Thank you for being honest. Thank you for being so transparent. And I hope everyone listening and watching us picks up their own. Everyone has their own journey, but there's so many things to pick up from your journey. Last, before I let you go, Truecaller. If we had to have a discussion again after a year, where should we see, where would be Truecaller?
I don't know if much will have changed in 1 year. Besides, the product team have rolled out many new, hopefully successful features on top of that. But continue to show great results.
Wow.
One thing I want to add, if I may. As I said, my Twitter account is open. Anyone can DM me. So if you're an entrepreneur and you want to ask any question, please do that. Just send me a DM. I do have a couple of companies around India, actually, entrepreneurs who send me random questions. Feel free to do. I'm happy to answer them because sometimes it's also these. It's not always about how do I start a company. Like we had questions like, do I need to hire someone on HR? Who do I go and ask this? How important is HR to me? Or how should I think about warrants programs, like these things? So I like to support other entrepreneurs. So if people want to reach out, feel free to do that.
Thank you. You're winning our hearts one after the other with your rants. Now, last before I let you go, now that you've said people can DM you, are you also angel investing in startups personally?
Yeah, I've done a few investments.
In India also?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, more in India than outside of India.
Okay. Cool. Thank you so much, Alan. It genuinely has been a privilege and very meaningful, this discussion. Thank you so much.